Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us once more for Blockchain for All discussion. My name is Jafet Johnson, and this is a sponsored program from B Conta, Fastrack Wealth Academy, 7100, and VHIPA Limited. And one of the major aim for this program is to ensure the general public is aware of what blockchain does and how it can help our daily lives. So over the past few weeks, we have been able to invite several speakers, and they have talked on several topics which we have been learning a lot from. And today is not going to be an exception, as I have a wonderful speaker with us that will also be talking on a very key and important topic that has to do with the blockchain. Okay, so if you are joining us now, kindly share this link with your friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. This program is actually streamed on these three platforms simultaneously at the same time. So you can share it wherever you are watching. You can also share it with your friends there. And if you have any question to ask our speaker for today, you should also comment. If you are watching from YouTube, you can drop your questions from the comment section there. So also on LinkedIn and Facebook, our speaker will be able to see your comment from there. So what we are trying to do now is to ensure that everyone is invited to the program so that we will not miss it. So our speaker for today um, is a seasoned professional with 15 years combined experience in oil and gas, maritime industry. He's trained as a mechanical engineer and furthered second degree in shipping management. So he has a wide range of knowledge. He's a technical analyst, blockchain technical analyst. He is an educator with Fastrack Wealth Academy here in Nigeria. He has worked with companies, and he has helped startups also build up ideas, how they'll be able to go into the market, understand how to enjoy the resources from blockchain, that's Web 3.0. And he will be talking a lot around blockchain and the concept around it, how we'll be able to make money from it, how we'll be able to identify um, key use cases of what the blockchain is trying to help us achieve. So it's going to be an enlightening program today, and I know every viewer is going to learn a lot. So the program is going to be engaging. We'll be engaging him with questions from our viewers. We'll be engaging from questions we have also been getting as people playing in the industry. And I know at the end of the day, we are all going to derive value from his presence here. So join me as I welcome Mr. ITUEN Ndiokho to Blockchain for All. So welcome, sir. We are very happy to have you here. Please, you will just introduce yourself and a summary of what we'll be looking at today entirely.
Okay, good evening, Japheth. Confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you confirm you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay,
Clearly.
so thanks for having me here, and many more thanks to the Conta for giving people the opportunity to learn about the blockchain. So I think you've done the introductions pretty quite well. My name is Ituen once again. I'm a professional with over 15 years experience in the maritime industry. I've had an avid interest in emerging technologies since 1998, and having come across the blockchain in 2014, I've accumulated over 7 years' experience as an investor on the blockchain. So when I'm not at work, which is usually the 9 to 5, I double as a resource personnel for genius masterminds, and they are a group of individuals around the globe whose passion is to look for investments that meet the criteria of what a good investment should be, according to wealth authoritarians. And so, after work, I'm passionate in helping my friends get ahead financially, but by legal and credible means, I must say, leveraging on existing systems which generate passive or residual income for them. So, today I'm here to talk about blockchain use cases, and I'll do my best to make it as simple and uncomplicated for those who are venturing into the blockchain space for the first time. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, so thank you very much for that brief introduction. I know people that have a lot to do, you could try to find a way to cut your introduction, but you can follow him on social media handles, which I'll be sharing his social media handles, so that you'll be able to learn more about him and what he does, since you might not be able to have all the time to do his personal introduction here. So thank you very much, sir, for taking out time to joining us today on Blockchain for All. And I'm very happy because you are an educator and you have been doing this for several years. So it makes the work very easy for us today. Knowing you'll be able to pass a lot of information in a very simple way, because just like you, I know people from the mastermind and fast track how they are very passionate when it comes to teaching. You understand how to make things very simple, and that's why we're very happy to have Mr. Lawrence and you at the same time. So today we'll be talking on the use cases of blockchain and how it's actually pushing in mass adoption. And really, it's going to be nice because having someone that had have this experience for 7 years in blockchain, I think you'll be able to also explain blockchain in simple terms for our viewers. So just give us, a nutshell of how do you see or what is blockchain for everyone to understand as we proceed, sir.
Okay, so before I jump right into the blockchain, it's important I need to let our guests know that we are currently living in the digital world right now. So whether we choose to ignore it or not, we are in the era of digital economy that is mixing technology and information together. So whether you're involved in buying and selling online, or you're replying emails or social media, or you are involved in online learning in a university outside your location, or you are involved in any cloud services, you are basically operating in a digital platform. And so the importance of that technology is that it works around the clock. So there are no strikes, there are no union issues, there are no personal sentiments. It's cheaper to maintain because it reduces the cost of business, thereby increasing profits. It's borderless. It doesn't take a look about on geographical regions, and it cannot be bribed. And most important thing about the digital economy is that it can serve billions of users simultaneously. Okay, so in a nutshell, over 30 years ago, the internet was born, and those who understood it used the technology to solve problems, and it became a utility case. So, what happened with the internet 30 years ago? There was what we call the Web 1.0, which was basically a read only case. Okay, so you had an encyclopedia, you had emails, limited number of content creators focused on just content consumption. And so, after some certain point in time, the Web 2.0 came into play, which was an opportunity for people to express themselves. So, you had social media, you had search engines, you had an increasing number of content creators, and then there was the ease of sharing content. But presently, we're in the Web 3.0, and that is where the blockchain comes into play. So if you're not used to the blockchain, if you're hearing words like crypto, currencies, NFTs, metaverse, the advantage of this is that at this point in time, you have ownership. The first two cases were 1.0 and 2.0. You couldn't do much with it, but in Web 3.0, you have the opportunity to take ownership of that. So straight to Web 3.0, which is the blockchain. So basically, what is a blockchain? I'll try to break it into very simple terms. So imagine you have a block that carries some form of information, and you have another block, the second block, that carries a second form of information. So there is usually what you call a chain that links both of them. Now, the characteristics of those chain linking those two blocks bears resemblance, okay? And that resemblance means that whatever information you have on the second block should correspond to information on the first block, okay? So see a blockchain as basically what? Records, information, okay? So it is a structure that stores transactional records, basically, okay? Those transactional records are in blocks and distributed through what you call a chain. Okay, and that chain is connected by peer-to-peer nodes. So see it as a digital ledger. In other words, a digital ledger is just like your Google spreadsheet with various people having access to the same information, but what they cannot what corrupt it. That is basically what the blockchain is. Okay, and so this ledger of information is authorized by digital signature of the owner. Remember, we're talking about the digital economy, and it authenticates any transaction and safeguards that record from being tampered. So that is simply what the blockchain technology is. And why is it so popular in this case? So you must have heard things about banking. You must have heard people transferring cryptocurrencies to one another. The most important aspects of the blockchain technology that makes it attractive is the following. It's immutable, meaning that all records on the blockchain are irreversible and cannot be changed. It's also secure, meaning that all records are individually encrypted. You have a feature of it being anonymous, so all the participants on the network have their identity protected. There is also the aspect of distributed ledger, meaning all the participants have the exact copy of the same information for what? Transparency. Also, you have it being timestamped, meaning there are always records. Records are always kept, and the most important in is unanimity, meaning all the participants on that network agree on the validity of each records that are presented on the blockchain. So in this case, you're having a decentralized system where nobody is king, but everybody is king. I hope I've been able to simplify that, Jeff.
Yes, thank you very much for that brief explanation of blockchain. I believe our viewers will see that what our other speakers were talking about, blockchain being secure, being immutable, and being transparent, and a lot is the same thing that Mr. Ituan is saying, meaning we're not just having different explanation of blockchain. It shows that this technology is consistent with the characteristics of what it's trying to show out there. And it's very key to understand that the blockchain is the core technology, while other products can be built on it, which is something that we'll be discussing today. That's the use cases that have been built using the blockchain. So thank you very much for making it very simple for us to once more understand the blockchain and how we can actually see the evolution from Web 1 to Web 2.0 and now currently to Web 3.0. And I believe we're going to be talking about the advantages of it's just like saying the use cases, then we'll be able to see the advantages of why these things are out there and how it can help us. So let's go straight forward. But for people that are watching, please, I know you are going to have questions. Kindly type your questions on the comment section there, and we'll be able to actually pop it up for our speaker to answer. If you have any question that has to do with use cases or whatsoever you'll be talking about today, kindly drop your questions on the comment section and we'll be able to attend to them. So, okay, to go quickly to our use cases, I think the door is open now so that we'll start looking at use cases and the advantages, and possibly there's going to be challenges and how we're going to tackle those challenges for every use case that you have outlined for us today. I think we can start now, sir.
Okay, so basically, technology is only as useful as the solution it provides. So, if you have a technology and it's not solving any problem for anybody, then obviously that technology is not really worth implementing. So, blockchain is currently solving problems in over 50 sectors of the human life. So, ask yourself the following questions: Are you engaged in e-commerce, global payments, transferring money across borders, microfinance, peer-to-peer lending, or you're involved in record keeping in terms of healthcare, ownership of titles, voting, intellectual property, or you are more or less into securities, where you're talking about crowdfunding, debt, equity, private markets, or most importantly, smart contracts, where you have digital rights and wager. Each and every one of us is consciously or unconsciously participating in various aspects of these uh, um, sectors of life that I have just mentioned across to you. So I will pick roughly try to categorize each of these use cases into the following: financial services, the public sector, Internet of Things, smart contracts, and then the personal identity protection. So there was a survey done sometime in that should have been 2018 by PricewaterhouseCoopers, looking into the industries, the various industries, and where blockchain, how advanced the blockchain technology is. And it was discovered that out of about seven industries, financial services took about 46%, followed by manufacturing, which was roughly about 11, 12%. Healthcare came next with 11%. The government had 8%, and then retail consumers with entertainment and media shared roughly about 6%. So, what does that mean? Let's take a look at financial services, which affect each and every one of us. Okay, so what happens is that because blockchain is secure, eliminates the middleman because of transparency, and it's fast, cheaper, it's been able to improve investment managing processes. Okay. And what it means is that everybody has a single access to what? A source of information, which is the truth. In terms of transaction validation, the transparency of the blockchain supports each party to easily validate transactions. And because of its immutability, there's overall data security of data on the network. Globalization. What is a village right now? Globalization leads to organizations making a lot of cross-border transactions. So you may have had people who were transferring money using Western Union, MoneyGram from UK to Africa or US to Africa, having a lot of charges. If it's not offshore charges, it's whatever charges it is, as much as 15%. And then you had delays in terms of the transactions. But what has blockchain done in this financial sector is that organizations are taking and individuals are taking advantage of it by what? Simply sending money at the cheapest rate and at the fastest speed. Okay. And because of that, you must have heard people say, transferring Bitcoin to this person, I'm transferring Ethereum to this person. And those transactions just go with little or no delays as long as you really have the network to send them. So that is one aspect in terms of financial services. Okay, so in terms of trade, people have been able to digitalize trades in an area. One important thing with trade is that um, the processes are usually inefficient. So you either have people using paper or people not being able to trust a central authority. But with the blockchain now, there's transparent governance. It reduces the complexity of intermediaries because a central authority acts as an intermediary. And of course, there are challenges with having a central authority. So, like faster processing, lower capital risk, reduced risk of fraud, as all has been the advantages of a blockchain in terms of finance. Let's take a look at the public sector. Remember, a disruptive technology, even if it's going to come out with even if it's going to come out with something positive, will always have what? A pushback. And the last set of people who will likely adopt technology are the people who is going to cause drastic change. And the culprit, big culprit here is the government. Okay. So in terms of transparent budgeting, if you look at the transparency index, it shows that roughly two-thirds of the countries in the world are highly corrupt. And an application of the blockchain technology in government decision making in terms of budgeting makes budget information accessible to the public. Remember, the blockchain is like a glass house. You can see the contents, but you cannot do what? You can't touch them. And so it leads to government being much more responsible and avoiding waste. If you're if you like history, Stalin had made a famous statement saying that it is not people that vote that count; it's the people who count the votes that make the difference. And so digital voting has come to stay. in that the reliability of the voting process for a long time has always been a problem of democracy. And so the blockchain can decentralize the voting process so that elections can happen securely with transparency. Okay. And so in a decentralized system, there is no point of weakness, there is no central authority like the INEC or a resident electoral. Once it goes into the blockchain, the information is stored and sent across instantly. Um, let's take a look at Internet of Things. I've mentioned the first two, and so we have moved on to Internet of Things called IoT. So the blockchain basically enables digitalization and identification of items. Okay, and so this digitalization and identification can enable what store, manage, protect, and transfer all the informations necessary. An example of this case is in the medical field. Okay, so you have medical fridges that monitor the temperature of vaccines, organic elements for clinics or medical hospitals that allow them ensure that safety standards and regulations in terms of the pharmaceutical or medical industry are kept. And you have some IoT sensors that do this, and they aim to what prevent either medicines or vaccines from going out of spoiling. Let me put it that way. IoT is also applied to the supply chain industry, where you have sensors that are attached to containers that show the location of the goods using GPS, track the speed of movement of, in order to ensure that the estimated time of arrival is top notch. Monitor the conditions in the warehouse in terms of temperature, humidity, and other environmental factors. This is currently being used by Amazon, DHL for their logistics services. In terms of healthcare, you would have had situations where you have your wristwatch that monitors your temperature and your heart, and is able to send messages straight to your doctor. And of course, it's on the blockchain, it's recorded on the blockchain. So you can take that information anywhere. You don't necessarily need to be carrying files and so much paper, having to make so many calls to a doctor here in case you are moving across geographical locations. So once it's on the blockchain, if you go to a different hospital, they have the exact records of what it is that you have passed through in terms of your medical experiences. The IoT has a very specific case use now, and I'm talking about cities that have decided to be 100% smart. Okay, so you have things like parking sensors, where uh, principle is that there are sensors attached to parking lots that can detect cars, can send information to users by app to identify empty spaces, and drivers know where to park their motor, their vehicles, wherever it is they go. So this is just one of the few uses of the blockchain or application of a blockchain to a mass adoption. Most importantly, is another one called the smart contract. So, what is a smart contract? It's just basically a contract that is activated as a computer code and contains the conditions of the contract. When all the conditions are met, the contract is activated. And so, smart contracts remove the need for mediators, intermediaries, or third party personnel, and it enables people to exchange valuable digital assets or physical assets, however it is that is used in the medium of transfer. So basically, people make an offer and they write down that offer in terms of codes on the blockchain. There are negotiations by both parties where the terms are visible. There's approval. So once the two parties agree on the terms, things like dates, expiration, strike, or any other conditions becomes immutable. It cannot be changed by any of the party. And so once there's a satisfying condition in place and the transaction goes on, it is immediately triggers, and then the smart contract is up and running. And the advantage of the smart contract, okay, which is an emerging technology, is that it's cost effective, meaning that you can replace all the agents that are involved in agreement cases that have to do with legal issues. You can avoid them. It's time saving, meaning that you don't need a lot of paperwork or intermediary because it can be completed faster. It's secure because it's due to its decentralized nature. Transactions are secure, it cannot be hacked, and then it is accurate because again it is a computer, so computer eliminates the need for much errors. So let's take a look at that. Is what that is on the smart contracts, and let's take a look at persons. Okay, individuals. So you have the blockchain keeping records of information like your personal IDs, allowing only you having access to that information, except you're giving it to a party that needs to use it. So you can control your digital data in a way that is utilized by different parties. And the last and most important case that affects the person is will and inheritances. So the world is moving into a certain, we are moving into that era, or um, um, yes, that era where everything that you have in the world will now be username and passwords. Okay, so you can write your will, your signatures, and put all this in the blockchain, and it can be activated by smart contract to the respective party that is desired to have that. So people no longer will be writing long things. They just have a username and password, and every information that goes in there um, has is immutable and cannot be changed. So basically, for government, okay, remember I told you that government are usually the last set of people that will come into accepting the case use of the blockchain. But for the government, you have things like custom. Okay, so government can provide better security against the online frauds. It can combat corruption by facilitating legal transactions and stop money laundering. With a decentralized ledger, everybody can see the information. So tax issues and multi-taxations are eliminated. There is you can secure data entry in terms of providing vital information against for government infrastructure against cyber attack, and most importantly is the national digital currency. So governments can utilize the blockchain technology to improve their traditional billing and payment system. So Jeff, I believe I've been able to expatiate all this to manage all the cases.
Exactly. Thank you very much. In fact, I was just taking notes of some of the use cases you're pointing out, and it's so interesting to know that blockchain has really opened up opportunities not just for individuals or companies, but also the government can actually look at the solutions that can be built because of those characteristics that the blockchain has. So we want to go deep into understanding some of these use cases, but I feel those are the use cases that actually made the blockchain well known. And the first one is the finance, which you have actually started with. And we can see the inflow of a lot of people going in there to say, okay, because they feel people don't even really know about the blockchain. They feel they know more about cryptocurrency because they can actually jump in there and make money, while others are jumping and also making losses. But it's something we need to understand. Most times, the misconception we have is a technology can a technology is out there, but its use cases can either go well or bad. So bad people can actually use that technology. It doesn't really make the technology bad. And that's one of the images blockchain has been having because a lot of fraudulent investment platforms have jumped on blockchain. Actually, they were using or they are using some of the characteristics of blockchain. But at the end of the day, they still find a way to defraud a lot of people, which is trying to make the word blockchain like a little bit more scary for people that want to come in. So we just want to understand this. Um, yes, finance has been one of the critical positions. In fact, any system that has to do with finance for the past 5 to 10 years, from my own research, has been getting a lot of eyes from investors, has been getting a lot of interest from VCs because the finance is something that is very key to every economy, from personal economy to in fact, the national economy. So it's very important that the financial systems actually work the way they are supposed to work. Now, governments of country have been printing a lot of money, which we have been seeing inflation hitting over and over again, increasing in more digits, right? Getting US even recording 7.3 or 7.5, which is one of the highest. Nigerian inflation is just way above the roof now. So we need to look at this. Yes, a lot of people are coming in to build solutions. We have been hearing of DeFi, but at the same time, we have been hearing of a lot of rock pool of people's funds. So we need to understand properly the financial aspect that is currently one of the key use case of blockchain. What are the do's and don'ts that we need to actually look at, and how can it, because at the end of the day the regulators need to come in. As of yesterday we're hearing Anthony Koji of, I think he was the co-founder too of Phantom, saying he's leaving the project, and just it was just like a massacre for the project. Yen Finance, Phantom, and other projects. And he's saying DeFi is going to die, and it's just like scary. So, what do we need to understand? How do we need to figure out this project? Because really, if blockchain is providing the solution for our financial systems, then definitely we just have to key in there. There are going to be losses, but how do you think we are going to actually mitigate around those losses and understanding properly the financial aspect of the blockchain? Because that's what is giving blockchain either the good name or the bad name now, before even the other use cases come into play.
Okay, so well, in this case, let's also imagine that the blockchain didn't exist. Okay, we are back to 2007, 2006. The blockchain didn't exist. We had an existing financial system where if a lot of fraudulent and negative activities were paramount. Okay, and so whether it is arms proliferation, whether it's trafficking, kidnapping, and trafficking, and whatever it is, a lot of funds were being moved across banks in this case. Of course, the vices will always be there. There are people who are responsible for having to track those vices, and then people just try to make the world safe, regardless of how good it is. So let us say if you ask me for a cutlass and I give you a cutlass and you take the cutlass to go and do something negative, does it stop the cutlass from being used as an item for clearing bushes or doing something positive to people? No. Now, what the blockchain has done actually has come to change a lot of things. Yes, it is anonymous, meaning that the participants there are unknown, or pseudonymous, meaning that they have nicknames. But because of its ability to have data decentralized in such a way that everybody can see that data, it means that it has eliminated to a certain level those negative attributes that were involved in a centralized finance system, which we currently are using. So things like addresses can be seen online. So you can pick up any address. You don't necessarily have the name of the addresses, and you can track all the transactions that have occurred in those addresses, wherever it is that money has been moved. As long as it is on the blockchain, it has a record. Unfortunately, the challenge here is that you do not have the name of the person, just in case you are tracking. And so centralized exchanges come in play here, where of course there's KYC done. So once such funds get into centralized exchanges, it's easier to track persons. Okay, but again, we are looking at the positive aspects. Okay, I had mentioned that in a financial system, in a centralized financial system, you had delays in terms of transactions. You had a single authority, a central authority who made all the decisions without consultation to the people. So somebody can wake up one day and increase the funds, or they can change the policy surrounding, change the monetary policies. That was what a centralized financial system did. And then you also have the fact that, of course, they charge you higher, and in some cases they delay in terms of the transactions. And if things happen, you definitely do not have um, you don't have anywhere to run to or complain. Then again, there's a single point of failure, which means that if you everybody knows the central bank governor and everybody knows the president of the country. So if something happens to any of them, of course, it's going to be effect. But when you have a decentralized system where transactions are cheaper, okay, transactions are cheaper, transactions are faster, and you're able to send money without having to deal with a third party intermediary, which also increases the cost of doing a financial transaction. It far outweighs the other disadvantages that have to come with the blockchain. Okay, and those are disadvantages from the negative point of view, not disadvantages from the challenges with using the blockchain. It outweighs that. And again, apart from the opportunities where people can have their properties, they can earn rights on their properties, can transfer information within generations. and earn a lot of money from their having their copywriting their items. One would say that the case for the blockchain, the positive case for the blockchain, outweighs by far the negative aspects. For your second question relating to projects that are being rug pull and people losing their funds, it's important to know that the blockchain technology is fairly new. So you cannot be no matter how old it is you are, if you did not go to, if you're not a doctor, you didn't go to medical school, no matter how old you are, you will not be able to perform the rights of a doctor. So you have to go through the right steps. And so the blockchain technology is new and people need to study. People need to pay attention. People need to follow the right set of people who are always searching for information and learning about a lot of things before you venture on the blockchain. So it's always important. Do your own research. Take a look at projects. What do the projects look like? Because every project has a potential to earn money. But the thing is that the attributes of those projects, if not well understood, will make you lose your hard-earned funds. So, what are those attributes? The return on investment, is it ridiculous? Okay, what is the value? What problem is that project solving for mankind? If all these cases cannot be answered, then obviously it's a red flag waiting at any point in time. That doesn't mean there are no good projects on the blockchain. Again, like I said, a technology that is solving problem presently for mankind will always have a what case use and will always have value over time. And so once you're able to do your due diligence, you can spot projects where you can know that it's easily a rock pool. And for those who are not technically aware of those that where the rock pool is basically projects that just go in there to make people lose money purposely. And so there you can identify projects that are rock pool, and then you can shy away from those projects. So it's basically the blockchain is basically wide. It has opened a lot of opportunities for people. Okay, Chang Penzhao, who is the CEO of Binance, had said that the blockchain is going to be bigger than the internet. So you can imagine yourself 30 years ago and what the internet is today. And you can imagine all the advances of the internet. Now imagine a technology that is just coming out that will be more than what the internet has done. So it's important that before you venture into the blockchain, before you venture into any aspect that has to do with financial, especially with your hard-earned funds, investment, always do your own research. Seek advices from authorities in terms of wealth education and financial independency, and then you'll be able to make informed decisions on and avoid rock pool projects. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. So thank you very much for that eye opener on actually trying to understand a good project. And as you have said, and what other speakers also say, that educating yourself is very important. You need to find information. You need to work with communities and mentors, and that's why we're having people like you on the show to actually give us these such advices. And if every one of you is saying we need to learn, we need to follow good communities, then it's the right thing to do to avoid being scammed by a lot of these fake companies out there or projects out there that are not really worth it. So, like you have said, do your own research. The keyword always to always ensure you find how to support good projects that have good teams, they have good vision, and what they are trying to achieve is actually clear. And with that, you'll be able to actually position yourself early enough to take the benefit of the financial aspect or the use case of on the blockchain. So, um, still going ahead, you have been seeing a lot of companies building. I think one of the fastest growing one is smart contract because it can help us achieve a lot. And even if the government are able to actually see the importance of it, we'll be able to have a lot of system because the issue of, let's say, um, tax systems, custom, identity management, let's say for individuals, health records. if we're able to actually understand the importance of smart contracts, then it will help us understand how we'll be able to come up with systems. But how do you see the adoption of smart contracts currently? Do you see um, companies, or do you see government actually looking at that aspect? Because you have been able to work with government, you are working with private sectors, you are working with individuals. How do you think smart contracts are really going to come out here? Because it's going to show that there will be no more too much of control, and which is one thing we know that the government always wants. But now we're talking about if this thing actually goes the way it's supposed to go, this thing executes. So, is it going to be something that will welcome in the nearest future, or how do we see the adoption of smart contracts coming in now?
Okay, so usually for things like this, you normally have the private private sector organizations go in head first, because they are profit oriented and service oriented. Let me put it that way, or efficiently oriented. So they look at their processes. They are the ones that will first analyze what their process is, and then decide where the loopholes are, decide where they can cut back in ensuring efficiency. And one of those aspects is the middleman. So if you have a middleman somewhere, you need to have to manage with all the intricacies that come with having that middleman. Okay, so let's say that you needed to sell a land, for example. Okay, so you need to have a lawyer who would read, do all the necessary things. Of course, you have to pay that lawyer for his services, and sometimes the lawyer will not be available, maybe because he's ill as a person, which is not much. So you have some certain delays that come with having a third party intermediary in any way. You have those things. And so for private organizations who had decided to um, look for an opportunity in order to cut, not necessarily cut as in eliminate, but do it in such a way that improves, it leans their system. The blockchain gave them that opportunity. And I'm talking about sectors currently doing that. You have Visa, you have Amazon, you have Apple. So what happens in this case is that the decentralized nature of the blockchain and its immutability, verifiable data means that they can now reduce the need for a third party to act as a counterparty to contractual obligations. Okay, so they see most of these organizations that I just mentioned see the blockchain as a means to automate their process. So smart contracts gives you that opportunity for automation, and then reduces the need for creating and maintaining vast amount of paperwork. Okay, so many organizations are also using this smart contract to track distribution of their goods and services from the time it was created up to the time it gets to the end user. So remember again, like I said, once a disruptive technology comes into place, the government are the last set of people to adopt it, because what? It disrupts the status quo. Okay, and so once private organizations have started utilizing this, the examples are JP Morgan, that uses smart contracts to do private transactions. You have IBM that is using smart contracts in banking and healthcare. You have Walmart that is using smart contracts in terms of food chain supply, and then its ecosystem. Alibaba too is doing that in terms of traceability of his products, and even uh, art. People like Gucci, Versace, Louis Vuitton, Prada, and they use their blockchain to protect smart contract to protect their products. Government will definitely, because although it will take time, governments will definitely utilize that. Remember, people will be. It's all about adoption, mass adoption, like we say. So once the government sees that the whole world has moved to the blockchain, they have no other need than to do what? Go into the blockchain. And going into the blockchain means that they will now have to automate their processes, make their processes a lot smarter. And so smart contract is definitely going to change a lot of things. Governments may not be readily uh, uh, won't readily accept that. Hopefully, of course, but that is changing. So you can look at governments of the UAE. You can look at El Salvador. You can look at China. There are some countries that have decided to accept blockchain and utilize it in order to make their cities smart and participate in the fourth industrial revolutions. So yes, it may be slow, but it's definitely smart contract is definitely going to change the way things are done. And yes, it's going to affect a lot of people, especially intermediaries who have been utilizing the centralized system initially in order to do what make ends meet. It is going to change a lot. Remember, always remember, people or organizations that are process oriented, looking for efficiency and effectiveness, will always consider what cost. They will consider time saving. They will consider security and accuracy of whatever processes it is they are doing. And the blockchain, utilizing smart contracts on the blockchain, has given them that leverage in order to improve their businesses and become much more competitive in the digital economy. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, so thank you very much for that. I think it's just what you're saying is a call to all companies building systems that will give out value, and with that we'll be able to attract the government. So it's all about how we'll be able to come up with systems. The private sector should be able to know that okay, this technology is out there to make their processes faster. So it's left for us to actually see how to build systems, and it's just a matter of time. Okay, as you have said, we are seeing countries actually adopting the use of smart contract and blockchain to make their city smart. Um, for identity. In fact, I see them taking more of the identity management very serious with that and medical records. So I believe it's really going to help. Dubai is actually trying to become, they said, the center or the hub of blockchain now. And it's really interesting to actually have people in this country know that, okay, this is something that is good for Nigeria to be top ranking when it comes to cryptocurrency. I think it's high time we have started looking at how companies will start building solutions that in the nearest future the government will actually key into them and see how they can also make use of those solutions. And it's interesting to have a lot of youths that are going into software development, and we're happy to have experts like you in this field to actually keep guiding. That's why we're trying to see that okay, we are always bringing people like you on this show to explain what is currently happening, how you have been able to see the adoption of what other countries are doing, because we should not just be consumers. You know, there should be a time that we should have uh, leverage to say, okay, we are producing something that the global world should also make use of. So thank you very much for actually sharing a lot in this use case, which is very important for us to understand. And you have listed a lot here. I just hope our viewers will also go back and watch the video to understand and also take note of what you have said. So if our viewers are having questions, you can type them on the comment section so that our guest speaker will be able to see one or two things about your questions. Please, before we go offline, we're having less than 10 minutes before we wrap up the show for today. So if you're having any question from wherever you're watching, you can kindly drop your question so that we'll be able to. Somebody is saying, is asking for WhatsApp. He's saying, is this the right time to actually go into buying cryptocurrency with the current dip? And he said, we are just trying to make money. So we might not be able to understand how to create system, but since we already know how to buy cryptocurrency, is it the right time, or is the government going to clamp down on cryptocurrency so that we don't even waste our money to go in now?
Of course, countries change or countries act differently. Let me not say countries change. There are countries that support adoption of the blockchain. There are countries that are still sitting on the sidelines trying to watch and partake. Okay, cryptocurrency is here to stay. It has its case use. It has survived the horse the it has survived the heat from the government, and it has created that a case use, and it's not changing the way we do our things. I will advise this is an advice from an investor's perspective. Okay, so an investor usually looks long term in terms of getting return on investment. Okay, and so if you want to buy cryptocurrencies, fantastic. And it's good to buy within when it is dipping. Okay, and then you utilize what they call a dollar cost average in order to ensure that you're getting a lot more for that cryptocurrency. But most important thing is first you must study about that cryptocurrency. What value does a cryptocurrency have in terms of solutions to problem? I keep on repeating that. If a technology or a cryptocurrency or any project on the blockchain is not solving any problem right now for people, then it's as useless as wasting your money. So that cryptocurrency that you want to buy, if it is dipping, fantastic, that is the right time to buy. But for investors, long-term investors, they see the dip as an opportunity in order to do what? Earn more. Okay. And so if you're a trader, those that are in the trading sphere definitely know that buying dip and watching the markets go up and come, that they make a lot of money, whether it's going up or coming down. But for if the person asking that question is a long-term investor and has studied that project that is supporting that cryptocurrency, my advice is to buy it when it is low. But again, do your own research. Okay, don't take my advice if it is not if you've not done your research at all. Do your own research, study the cryptocurrency, look at the real case use and what it is solving for people, and then you will definitely know that you're in for a good ride if the price is at its rock bottom. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, so thank you very much for that. I believe our viewer will understand that okay, it's not you giving advice, but trying to let them know even when the market is going deep, you can take advantage of it, but you have to study to know when to buy and what to buy. Because it can be dipping, you can buy a dip and it will dip more again and it might not even come back up. But when you do a good research, you can know what to buy and when to buy. So thank you very much for that again. Then there's okay. This other person is trying is saying, okay, looking at the I think it's almost the same, looking at the current way Nigeria is, he's still trying to ask, okay, when should they buy? Should they still go ahead? But I think the general question is, as you have said, countries will change and regulations will definitely come in. So as you are doing it now, even as you are buying, we're not saying you should just go into cryptocurrency or start buying. We're not saying that. But when you're able to actually go in and learn and know what's happening, even when the regulations will come up, you must have actually positioned yourself properly. And somebody is also asking about NFT. That it's so funny how pictures of monkeys are making money, pictures of pictures of cars are making money. So it's confusing, and in fact, that cryptocurrency is quite straightforward, but they don't understand the issue of pictures, people selling monkeys, picture, all this stuff. So maybe you have an idea, or how do you see Africa even taking advantage? I think I've been having more of that question. I've been trying to wrap my head around how to explain the concept of NFTs and metaverse. Maybe you share light on that because it's currently new again, and people are trying to understand the use case, how to even apply to what they are doing.
Okay, I will give. Let me make a simple illustration of an NFT. So I believe there are people that play Candy Crush on their mobile phones. So at least there are levels in which you get to Candy Crush. There are some power ups you use. There are some things they give you use that you can win the stage. It gives you some kind of advantage. And in some cases, if you don't have those things, you may have to pay money for them. So it's either the Play Store or the App Store is telling you to make some payments, which is usually cheap in order for you to have that. The NFTs is NFT gives people an opportunity where they can own an asset digitally. Okay. And not only own it digitally, can earn rewards from holding that. So let us take a very, very simple case happening right now in terms of the metaverse. So there are computer games being played or going to be played in the metaverse where those characteristics of some NFTs will be required for you to have a certain edge in that game. And so those NFTs, if you have the NFTs, people can rent the NFT from you and you can earn passive rewards. Another real life aspect of the NFT would be in terms of art. So it's not everybody that appreciates art. There are people that appreciate art more than that. So I may go to an art gallery and I see images splashed on the wall and I'm asking what it is, but somebody else intuitively has a different understanding about what it is. And that is where the value is placed. That is where the value is placed. So just like football, some people don't imagine how 22 men are running around a ball and people stay for 1 hour, 30 minutes to watch. But there are some people that you see that they're enthusiastic. They will sleep in the stadium. Interest is what drives value. Interest drives value. So whether it is art, whether it is music, whether it is audio recordings, no matter what it is, once it has a value, of course, which comes with issue of history, uh, history, and a lot of things come into play when you decide about the value of an NFT. Okay, and so once those things come into play, then having it creates a certain level of um personal satisfaction, and that personal satisfaction will create that value. So, right now, NFTs are still being understood by people, but NFTs are going to create the world. Remember, we are saying that we are moving into a world that is digital. Basically, everything you're going to be doing now will be digital, everything. So whether it's a painting you have or whatever it is, everything is going to be digital. And those who actually understand it, again, based on value and perception of the individual. People have different perceptions, people have their interest tailored to different things. But as long as those things have a value in terms of perception, there will always be what? A monetary value attached to that. And that is where the NFT is coming.
All right, so thank you very much for that one. So, like you have explained, is the value behind the pictures and what the project is about to do. So, and it's something we have to also pay attention to so that we'll not be left behind because a lot of people will still make money from it. I think recently I was even seeing one from the status where you can actually get free NFTs for doing some certain stuff. So there is a lot, and as we have just said, it's all about research, trying to follow people that actually are expert in this. You can follow our guest speaker on social media handles here displayed on your screen. You can follow him, ask him question. You can ask if you tell him you are coming from blogging for what, I think he'll give you preference by answering you. So you can follow them, ask them question, follow communities, it's very important. Follow seminars like this, which we try to see how to organize. And thank you for our sponsors for taking our time to bring up these educators to blockchain and its use cases in our daily life. So thank you very much, Mr. Ituan, for taking out your time to actually share a lot of this information with us. And we are really going to plead because we know we are yet to exhaust all the topic on blockchain. We will still
Okay.
call you some other time to, you know, I know you are always free because educators are always ready to teach. It's just for the audience to be open to learn. So we'll still come up some other day to call upon you to actually teach us more. We don't want to
Okay.
exhaust all our time. We have spent our time 1 hour plus here. So thank you very much. Our viewers are also appreciative of your answers. I know some will come and watch the video later on, but I hope when they make comments also will able to go online and still answer some of those comments or questions that they will drop. Thank you very much. Before we just go, we just want you to give a last advice or shout out around blockchain and every other thing you want to comment on before we call it a day.
Okay, so Benjamin Franklin said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So imagine yourself in the 1990s with positioning on the internet. So those who positioned themselves back then built on the foundation of what we're using today. And so we are currently in that cycle. Okay, the blockchain has come and it has created a huge relief in eliminating middlemen in all applications. So it's definitely creating value for people. We are currently in that year of adoption of the blockchain, and those who position themselves strategically stand a chance to benefit when the masses coming. So once again, thank you very much, Jeff. Thanks to BigConta for hosting this and giving people an opportunity to learn. BigConta is an automated app that enables people buy cryptocurrencies, and they've been creating that opportunity where people can learn a little bit more about the blockchain and its uses. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for being here, and thank you once again, Jafet, for having me in your program.
You're welcome, sir. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. So, our viewers, you can keep following us on WeContact HQ to watch these live sessions as we come up with more speakers. You can follow me on Facebook, also YouTube, and LinkedIn, Jaffe Johnson, to watch other shows and other programs that have to do with blockchain and cryptocurrency, metaverse. So we'll also do a lot of technical sessions where we'll explain how to use some other tools to navigate around blockchain. So you can keep following me up as we continue to bring up other concept of the shows. Now we're having more of the educators coming to teach us. We also bring technical people that also show us the practical aspect of how to use this stuff. So thank you very much, Mr. Itwan. Um, and thank you everyone for actually taking our time to watch this 1 hour plus. So I'm very grateful for everyone that has stick around to watch this program to this very moment. I hope you have derived value from what we have just done today. So do have a wonderful night, guys, and catch you some other time.
Thank you very much.